This is the final moment that everybody's been waiting for. We go right back to we have bombed the Baldwins, and I have taken vengeance upon all liberations at civilian disorder and discontent to finish this mission. I'm going to go and show you exactly what I've done here. Thanks to Jack's elaborate timing countdown to make this affordable as it backs out into the driveway that once sat amongst the Chipmunk Fire of '79 and decided the fate of many Americans. From this tab 4, 10-inch screen, big DPS. We're looking in the mailbox that did it to itself. Is that 1199, 1119. We got 4 figures coming out of this 4-figure paycheck. Let's take this over to the little spy craft that did it to everybody. See. Oh, okay. Open this one outside. Got the final countdown for Monday Monsters, which is how timing in the mail station back into our mail format is the proper, we got strength here, this is like 15,000 extra miles of damage versus somebody else's normal threshold of activity that would go to say the inadequacy of somebody thinking that they passed physical education after high school gets their accountability when they sit around at home doing nothing. And the last point is knowing where leaving a house is more accountable than ever. See, this big number system that holds the state of address accountable was flawed indefinitely. And by coordinating a special effects unit with my cousin, my uncle, so to speak, my mother's cousin, I was able to time in movies. Like Mr. 21 has got the gamble that it didn't take over clearance, methods of reflection, that the risk over at Pachanga versus going to Pala between freeways is more of a PAL. We got Flipper for this dipper. We set free the marijuana, the entire constituencies of pretty much just why Shamu isn't something you want to date. Then we got Backdraft. Of course, this is the Backdraft. This is where somebody would have said the fires start here in the Trade Centers in a conspiracy theory, but the only way to figure it out is to move forward. You see, we got William Baldwin in this. Wouldn't obviously want to disgrace my friends for doing what they do best. That's act. So, but for final precautionary messages for the official up to state of the art, what's it called, Harmony remote, be placed in the inside house that was complacent of compliance for being the inside job. Just goes out to really more or less the entire paranoia of local authorities and people who just give a half-assed approachment to life. Like I said earlier, the harmony that's missed is instigation over paranoia and fear. To be physically adequate, see this stomach is proficiently digesting. I already ran 7 miles today. It's very important that I elaborate that training processing and things like that go into a trial, but nonetheless, people should hold responsibility for who they are and the factors that denominate physical demeanor in public. This is why we have Congress and the House of Representatives to sort things out, to help the CIA and FBI take control where People are scared to leave their houses. You could imagine. From my point of view, I see a flight risk every other day. 40 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour area. You know, it's kind of scary. People are afraid to leave their house. There's no sidewalk. I don't know, it's safer inside. It's hot out. No one explains the biological theories. So, here we go. It's got Harmony remote. Got this thing on eBay for 10 bucks. I already have one inside. So it's already kind of in play of the inside Harmony. I'm just gonna like tap out right here and go inside, but I wanted to specially open up these in front of this probe right here because, you know, this thing backdated Robert's sound effect to his coordination over the freeway, which is a conspiracy of the actual number system that goes to a birthright. And since, you see, I'm born in 1986, March 7th. He was born in 76. I don't know the exact date. It's only his own right to know his own birthday. I'm not going to go into any other interpersonal skills like that over this line. But the truth about it is, knowing that this car, you know, I can get in there, but just 176,000 miles, could say, and the differential sound effect of numbers not coordinating exactly to what they sound like is just like saying, you know, what for anything? You have 4 fingers and your thumb is an opposable figure. So, you know, knowing that an opposable figure goes to value, you know, what a bitch isn't, really does say a lot about animals versus humans and things. And the fact of the matter is that there's a crucial limitation in what gets a grip and what doesn't. And like I said earlier, this is all just about mostly Chester Bennington dying, him committing suicide. And life was a bitch, but this guy pitches that he has so much to offer and so much to give back as a loving, concerning father that it wasn't worth his time, but then to yield himself before a bitch. And that was pretty much 2 months before I brought up Wednesday here, who is the 9/11 bitch. And I'll even, you know, show you guys another clip of Wednesday as I walk inside. We got this first responder here who is yet to be paid for the actual miss. That plain sight was just like this person driving by. They can't meet people halfway, logically, with one person who takes responsibility for everybody else at a teamwork effort. So this is kind of where, you know, the number system right here, we can take this right haul up to, just back play this. It goes 9111 up, 1. That's the initial play on words here. We get inside. And it's a beautiful day, because this dog, I patiently ran out this dog for like 6 years. And we brought it in from National City. It was Wednesday. And that's pretty much where I last left off with all this investigation and stuff. I think that they're making a little bit too much of a big deal about things that my personal attention is just the equality of trigonometry being settled. And, you know, as we have my neighbor who's coming into my backyard, his reference to a dick is his last name. Just like mine is Leva, and I could coordinate where, you know, being a veteran isn't being like such a dick. But we are so much... There they go crazy. We're so much at a beyond point of, like, what you would say when somebody says that on the hip-hop level, like, oh, you're a dick or you're a little bitch because you don't do something right. This was the coincidence that became like a factual hypothesis on why the dog can't get a grip. You see, it just lost its mind over 5 seconds of play and wording, because it's at controversy with spelling. And since we're at a weathering contest, we have to kind of be ready for hurricanes and things like that. It's more or less natural disaster imminency. But to enhance on where the last day left off, to not be such a dick is saying like I couldn't be closer to my family, be able to meet them halfway around the block in case they need some help. Call this guy everywhere, to help if I needed to. So I could compare to just about anybody else out that door. That's like 7.6 billion people in my eyes. And when anybody else holds surrounding point to it, that's the initial play on things where, backdraft for sure. That doesn't get any more or less a director's cut than the sequel, unless we make a third, because it should be on the way. Goes into fours, and I don't know. It could help. And put this down, and remember that the house turns out a flipper and a dual monitor lion tail. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. This is where we flipped the house over to making cannabis rules more explicit and understood as illicit and safety rights. And because this guy says marijuana isn't safe and all these things, and I go to prove them fucking wrong, like, no offense, but they would say, like a little bitch. Don't pitch out on what you don't follow responsibility for, but this dog is completely in constituency of being a superb national historical advance in society. And where I could easily say that it's not being like a dick because I couldn't meet them halfway, that's just equal opportunity being outspoken for some kind of, ludicrous, mild misunderstanding of an hypocrisy of democracy, where we get screwed on 9/11, and this was the closest coordinates I could listen to when I was a little kid. You're behind the actual number system that they're supposed to value, and they take it out of plain sight. And so I got to figure out where the plain sight is. So it makes them the little bitch at this point, not the American people. But people are holding themselves back in America to understand the problem for what it is. And even right now, I could easily say that the chemical balance of this morning and my big pool of water being worked on, there were a little bit of reflection that denominates a mild understanding of watering and weathering, could go a lot further if I could meet people halfway. But we don't have very trustworthy federal agents or government agents that are prepared to do what is necessary to protect the imbalance of what, I'm 21 years old, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and this was, exercising. And somebody's like, it's not good for you. No, that's blood circulation and complete control over, a particular heart race that I had to tamper with to figure this out. I had to get into smoking and stuff like that. But to figure out that it can rehabilitate and still work after, in light of day, it doesn't go to say that, being not has helped is something affordable. But, this thing would go too far if I was to get, financial headway and not be missing the sound of what gets ahead. The bands would sound better quality, movies would be more entertaining. I'm already pretty emotive to help that, but the entire thing I wanted to share was more or less the conclusion of this backdraft being out of play into it. More like an assimilated line, like, Tony Hawk does a 540 to heel flip varial to 50-50. This was, I'm gonna freaking line out the timed effort like no other, and I have. And I'm very proud of myself to be able to have shared this and been able to say something for it. But more or less, I'm very disappointed in our government's insecurities to not just play out the difference of my need for a vehicle to hold trajectory over anybody else's testing scores and things, to have validatable interests where one equal right was everyone's equal opportunity, and I'm just one in the middle. It just holds an exceptionability, My right hand is any other individual's second guess to, I can call somebody for help. The touch of being within emotional deplorability to concern and can save on people's lives is within my hands. So, at the end of the day, this was really tough for me to do, but I still worked with it anyways. And, like I said, Backdraft 2 is probably going to come through the mail sometime later, and I'll probably check in with that later. But the first one is the most important one to clear up, that this was seriously the state of address backplayed out into some delusional, stupid terrorist-like fucking bullshit that could only be figured out with a lot of people's lives being put out to risk. And all the results still say, it can't be more or less challenged than to what the facts are. People are stating that it's an act of terrorism. It was an act of war upon people. There's a difference between a random assorted events that don't line up the way that backplayed itself to. We got the support we had from people who are caring about our country, and I stuck with it. I don't feel like this should be missed by any reminisce of just about anybody giving a shit. There's a guy running down the block right now I can see giving a shit. I don't know what else to add in, but Merry Christmas to everyone, and I hope you all have a good time figuring out that wasted refuse shouldn't be overused, and a backdraft of familiar methods shouldn't be abused in somebody's house. And that's a stupid reason for somebody to go out of their way to attack our country. But the only thing that I'm trying to say is that if you could hold responsibility for your own and yourself children's, you'd be better off doing the exercises and keeping up. I know, I'm not trying to make fun of nobody, call anybody ugly or nothing like that. But when there's a modeling agency that I can go work for, and I have to be ready for some kind of, predicament of being healthy and convictional character of these problems and things, there's somebody who's designed physically to not hold any less physiology to an acceptable role model skill. I'm not going to go and lie to somebody who's 10 years, 20 years older than me and say, look, it's the same shit that you're seeing that is happening over again. No. Right out that door is still the same backdraft theory. Now, I'm not trying to put it out in the air like spice and rack, but the provocation is that our national security just kind of fucking slacks. And they could be easily giving me money back to support it instead of decriminalize it and discriminate against it. There was a back play. I was very involved at the center of everyone's attention, doing IRS interests, backplaying, disability and insecurities, going the distance. A lot of my friends 20 years ago grew up listening to that Cake song, Going the Distance, and they liked that song. I liked it too. It's hard to understand until somebody came along like myself to perform it, and be off octave tunes and things like that. It'd be discreditable to my family if my cousin ever showed up here, my uncle, whatever they call that, to do producing and stuff, and be like, yeah, okay, doesn't sound as good as it can get, but that was as good as it can get, and the bitch in my back pocket looking for bacon. And we all know about the little bacon theory of little piggies who think they can fly, but they're really just not built for being a federal agent. And I can't go to say the least when it can, it takes a lot of instinct to be a smart person. But the next day after this is facts, they're facts right there on the table. A healthy person like myself being trained to go run 20 miles isn't somebody being ready to help flight risks take advantage over peace and commodity, where they're trying to correct stupid people just because they want to go fucking play prison kid and be lunch pail man. It just doesn't make sense. It seems like that's where the big circle jerk exits this place, and that was this is also a backdraft for a 187 call too. It's not just 911. There was the day that it took play over, and I'm just gonna finish this video out until it hits 20 minutes because 420 is just a few months after the new year, and it's what 4 months after a new year. That's what 4. People are trying to put in resolutions to quit smoking. You need to quit smoking and freaking start running and doing push-ups and sit-ups and taking care of yourself. Somebody else is killing themselves right now through these limits of flight risk and stuff, testing weed, tobacco, alcohol, and things. And it's better off that knowing that the stress has been taken care of in a way, because you never know when somebody could be drinking or something because they're depressed and they don't know that they're in a headlock or something. Oh shit, what my neighbor is doing. I better just cut that out right now and just, press the stop button. Goodbye.